Hello, today I'm going to explain one of the two codes we made. The name of this code is GTN, which means guess the number, and it's a game. To do this code, we first needed to import two files. The first file is called random. This file will let the code to generate a random number. And the second file is called scanner. This file lets the user to type a number in the terminal. Public class GTN is the name of our class, and we have our fields. All these fields are type integer because we are only working with numbers. The first field is called answer. In this field, we are basically storing the random number that the code will generate. The second field is called guess. In this field, we are going to store the number that the user types in the terminal. The third field is called max, and this one is equals to 100 because it will be our limit of the number that the code will generate. So the limit is up to 100. And we have the last field, which is I equals to 1. I represents the number of attempts that the user has, and this will increment every time the user tries to guess the number. This code is only working with one method, which is called game, and it's type void because this method will not return anything. And inside of this method we are creating our first object. The name of the object is in, and it's from the class scanner and system.in. So this object will basically let the user to type something in the terminal, and in our case that will be a number. Then we are creating another object which is called rand from the class random, and this object will help us to generate a random number. Then we are creating a local variable which is type boolean, and it's called correct is equal to false. I'm going to explain why in just a minute. And for last, in this part we have basically our code to generate a random number. So we are using our object rand, and that next int means integer, and we are putting max as I said, max is our limit. So this part will just generate a number up to 100. And once it generates a number, it will pass to the field answer. And now we're ready to go. We are basically printing in the terminal the instructions to the user, and we're using a system out print. Guess a number between 1 and 100. You have only 10 attempts. The next step is very important, and we are using a while. The reason we are using a while is because the user will try to guess the number, and he will need to repeat all this procedure over and over and over until he gets the number. And the while works like this. While it's not false because correct is equal to false, and I is less or equals to 10, this will repeat itself over and over and over until one of the conditions is not true. And then we are starting basically now the game. Guess equals in.next integer. Guess is our field of the answer that the user will type, and in.next integer will let the user to type a number in the terminal. So once he types the number in the terminal, it will pass to the field guess. Now we have our conditions. We're starting with if the guess number is more than the answer, then we're going to print to the user that his number was too high. Too high, try again. And also we're going to print the number of attempts he has. Attempt numbers equals the number of attempts. Then if the number is not too high, then we're going to use an else if. Guess the number he is trying to guess is less than the answer, we're going to print too low, try again, and also we're printing his number of attempts. and if the first condition and the second condition is not true, then we're going to use an else, and that means that he guessed a number. So we're going to print yes, you guessed the number and his number of attempts. And also we're changing the local variable correct to true to finish this cycle and get done with the while. And for last, we have I++. I++ is basically adding 1. So every time he's trying to guess the number, if it's not the answer, that means that this is not true, and he will need to repeat trying to guess a number. And every time he guesses a number, the number of attempts will add up to 10. And once he got his 10 attempt, he will basically lose the game or finish the game. And now let's try and test the game. First, we need to create the object of the game. In this case, I'm gonna call it as my name, and let's play. As we can see, it's giving us the instructions. Guess a number between 1 and 100. You have only 10 attempts, so let's try and guess a number. Let's start with 50. It's telling us that the number we just typed is too high, and it's giving us our first attempt, and we have up to 10 attempts. So let's try and type a smaller number. It was too high, and we guess the number in the third attempt. Now let's see what happens if you don't have more attempts. So we try again. We're creating our object, and let's play. In this case, I'm going to try and fail and see what happens. So it's too low, that's also too low, that was too high, so the first two conditions are working, and I'm going to fail to see what happens. And as we can see, we got up to 10, and we basically lose the game, and it doesn't let me type anything. So this is the first code we made, and I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, so now I'm gonna explain you this application that we create. So the goal for this application is to make it easier for the user to calculate the areas, the volume, and the perimeters of figures, like a circle, like a square, like a rectangle, etc, etc, etc. So first we have here the class, we have here the variables. These are the things that we are gonna use later so the code can work properly. We have side A, side B, height, base, radius, big diameter, small diameter, big side, and small side. So we have here the first method is dedicated for the square, and the things that is written here, these are like, we can say is for to make it simpler, we might say that the things that are written here are the elements that we are gonna use, that we are gonna use for each of the formulas for the different figures we're working with. Obviously it depends on the figure, like for example here we are just using side A because the formulas for the square just need sides, and all of the sides of the square has the same length, so we are just using side A.
Now, system out print line. So this works so the user can read the text that we are writing here. The quotation marks are like the marker that show us where does a text starts and where does it ends. But what we are gonna see is all of the text or all of the elements that are written between the parentheses. The difference between this text that is between the quotation marks and is highlighted as green is that this is just text, and these are the elements of the fields that we create early. So this is a multiplication. This asterisk is like a multiplication sign. So because the formula for the area of a square is side times side is side times side. Now, actually, this is a really good opportunity to me, so I can show you how this works. So as you can see, this is written as area. So I'm gonna go here, right click, new figure. You can write any name you like here. I'm gonna so right click here, and you can see here are all of the options of figures that you can use: circle, rhombus, or square. But because of the little like mistake or on purpose mistake that we did on the code is on the square method, we're gonna choose this one. So let's put, I don't know, simple number 2. We click on here and okay. Just to compare, side times side, it will be 2 times 2, it is 4. Now side plus side plus side plus side, or side times 4, which is 2 times 4 is 8. The volume is side times side times side, which is 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2, 4 times 2, 8. So it is correct. If you want to try any other number, be my guest, you can use it. But now, the business here. In the body of this text, it marks it like area. Why? Because of here we have area. So we're gonna erase it. We're gonna put here perimeter. We're gonna compile. Okay, it is compiled already. We close this window. We're gonna use a brand new. We're gonna name it Rick in honor of my teacher. So square. We're gonna put 2 again, and that's it. Perimeter. Okay, this is another opportunity. So here is the S. Here ends the quotation marks. So this is all of the text that is here. This 8 is the product of all of this. So that's how it works. The rest of the methods are basically the same, just that we use different elements because the formulas for these figures are different. It's obvious, but this is how it works. So I hope you have understood the explanation.